In this week's video, we're doing another fan challenge, and this time I was challenged to beat the game with only a Ditto. Now, because I did know the fan and the person who challenged me to this, I asked for some extra questions. And I asked, could I do this with more than one Ditto? And they didn't have a problem with that. But the more I got thinking about it, the more I thought to myself, you know what? I'm going to do this with just a single Ditto. And let me tell you, that was a terrible decision. This was a challenge where I repeatedly said to myself, I'm not having fun. Because this challenge requires an insane amount of grinding. See, Ditto is just not a good Pokemon. It has a really cool, unique ability, but that's about where it ends. It's really useful for breeding in later gens, but as a Pokemon in Generation 1, it's basically useless. Ditto's unique ability is Transform, which allows it to turn into a copy of the other opponent's Pokemon. Now, it can only use this once, so at the beginning of the battle, whatever Pokemon they put out, that's the Pokemon you're stuck with. So as I go into my first battle here with my rival, I'm stuck with using Pidgey. And you had best really like Pidgey, because you're going to see a lot of Pidgey and its evolutionary forms here. To make matters even worse, you only get 5 PP of each move. So this is going to make rival battles very difficult. If I don't get lucky, and I focus on using Sand Attack, if my rival's Pidgey uses Sand Attack, then by the time I get to his second Pokemon, I'm not going to be able to deal any damage because I won't be able to hit them. Now, the one saving grace is that Ditto is able to get Struggle. So when you run out of PP, you can use Struggle. Now that goes and when I am post-transformed, but this actually leads to a potentially game-breaking glitch. You lose the ability to use Struggle in the event that a Pokemon uses the move Mirror Move. Now, given that my rival has a Pidgey when it evolves into Pidgeot, and they Mirror Move my Transform, which will happen inevitably at some point in the game, it's really hard to avoid it, you will end up in a soft lock. You will be able to enter a battle with 0 PP of Transform, but you will not be able to use Struggle. Effectively, this will trap you in a situation where if you can't get out, like let's say you're in the Elite Four, the door locks behind you, you can't just walk and go and heal away. You could actually hard lock the game, where you wouldn't be able to advance, you wouldn't be able to do battle, it just is stuck on the battle screen, and if you save during, then it's just broken. You won't be able to advance and play the game. So you have to be really careful with Ditto, because Ditto has so many weird bugs. The benefit of having Struggle, of course, is that with Ditto, you get to keep your HP stat. So because you can keep your HP stat with Ditto, you're able to use Struggle quite a bit when you are a higher level. Now you do copy the rest of the other stats, but you keep your HP, you keep your IVs, and then one thing that is a glitch in Generation 1 that I have noticed is that when you crit, you do damage based on your attack stat, not on the borrowed attack stat. So theoretically, the best move for you to use is Struggle, right? Struggle if you get your speed high enough and you can still keep your base Ditto stats. You can still keep your regular Ditto stats. If you're leveled up to 100, you could just do Struggle, outspeed everything, and actually have a higher chance of landing a crit because of your higher speed stat. Now, the problem with that is once Mirror Move gets used, that strategy goes away. So that only works for so long. So you'll get trapped in a situation at one point where you have to use Transform. And this could have been a huge problem for me later on in the game. And I'll explain why I chose Generation 1 even with these glitches. Because while Generation 1 is kind of annoying, sometimes you can use those glitches to your benefit. Now, the biggest problem that I'm going to run into here with Onyx and Brock in Gym 1 is that when he uses Bide, I have no other choice but to use Struggle. So at this point, I'm doing damage, and he's going to deal more damage back to me. So luckily, I use all the money that I save up from beating all the trainers along the way to purchase as many potions as possible, in the hope that I do as little damage with Struggle as possible and can eventually just outlast through the use of items. Now, I know that there have been runs done with Ditto where no items were used, but given that I got the Struggle glitch and soft lock, and I didn't then restart, I'm going to end up continuing to use items. So Struggle will work when you are transformed throughout the game, so don't worry, it is possible to beat the game. But again, you can get yourself into annoying situations with having to change into Pokemon, especially if the Pokemon you have to change into knows the move Focus Energy. Because one of the other glitches in Generation 1 is that Focus Energy actually reduces the chance that you will crit by 50% instead of increasing it by 50%. So while some of these bugs actually do work out to benefit me, especially the badge boost glitch, I will have problems with move pool. I'll have problems with Focus Energy glitch. And that's what really makes this game unenjoyable. If you ever want to experience everything that was wrong with Generation 1, try doing a Ditto run. You'll find out real fast. If I had to go back and do this Misty fight again, I think what I would do is, instead of relying on the transform to giving me the inferior version of Star U versus the Star Me later on, what I would do is burn through the PP and just use Struggle with a Super Potion. That, I think, is honestly a pretty foolproof method for getting through most of the early game content. And again, that's not the problem with this Ditto run. You can do it. It requires you to be grossly overleveled. It requires a lot of patience on your part, and it requires a lot of hair pulling. If I had any hair left, I probably wouldn't after this video. This video probably will take years off of my life, and yet I do it for the fans. So remember, if you want to see me do another challenge that drives me to the edge, then comment below with what challenge you want me to see. Next, we're going to be doing a pacifist challenge where clearly I didn't have it bad enough. Now I'm going to beat Pokemon without attacking once. Why do I do these things to myself? I don't know. I really don't. But we're able to get through Misty fairly easily without using that Struggle technique. But in all honesty, that's the way to get through the early game. You can avoid Mirror Move. What I could do is I could have used... This run's really easy if you keep Struggle. Let me put it that way. If you keep Struggle and you use items, this run becomes incredibly simple. You just bring your HP down, you heal back up with an item, and you just use Struggle the entire game. Right? No problem. Super simple. There aren't going to be too many Pokemon that you're going to struggle with because there aren't great fighting moves in Generation 1. You would run into a little bit of a problem with Bruno, especially with his Machamp, his Hitmonchan, and his Hitmonlee, but that's really not all too bad. Now, the trick with Rival Battle 2, or I guess Rival Battle 3 now, would be to make sure you get through his Pidgeotto as quickly as possible while taking as few sand attacks as possible. Raticate can also do huge damage, so it's a good idea to just try and push through the Kadabra, because Kadabra doesn't really do much to you. It's got Disable, it does have Confusion, but it's not able to do a ton of damage quite yet. It's not the danger that Alakazam will become. If you have the sand attacks as well, you would want to save them. Again, Wartortle would be great to use these on, but I'm able to get the job done with 2 Gusts. That was pretty simple and straightforward, and again, we could have gone into that with Struggle and cleared it with no problem whatsoever. But eventually, that strategy will go away, so we're going to focus more on transforming and making sure that we utilize it correctly. The more experience we have with Transform, the easier it'll become. The easier it becomes, the easier the Elite Four should, I guess, theoretically be. Once you get used to using another Pokemon's moves, it actually teaches you to appreciate other Pokemon. I think, if anything, I take from this is how little I use or vary my teams. I tend to stick with the tried and true Pokemon, so being able to play, I guess, as almost all of them, or at least a trainer's first Pokemon, gives me some insight with Pokemon I don't really use all that often. I can't say that I love it, and I can't say that they're going to become, the best parts of my team, but it does give me some options and some ideas for future content. As always, there is just something about Lieutenant Surge that makes me forget to press the record button. I don't know what it is, but I transform into his first Pokemon being Voltorb. I'm able to obviously defeat Voltorb and make my way through Pikachu pretty simply. Now all that leaves me left is the Raichu. Now I do save my Screeches here because I want to be able to do some significant damage to Raichu. Sonic Boom is good because it's not actually an electric type, it's a normal type. So I'm able to deal at least type effective damage. I'm not going to run into any resistances, but Raichu is just so much stronger. I probably could have gone with additional Shrieks here, or Screeches here rather, and set that up better and conserve the PP more. But either way, I'm going to get down to struggle, and I'm going to do enough damage. It gives me 3 badges with very little difficulty so far. Speaking of Pokemon that I don't really use, Victory Bell is one of those. I usually will capture a Bellsprout to teach it Cut and Flash, but I don't really have too much use for Victory Bell. Now, one thing that gets really annoying with this gym is, especially, and what we'll run into with Koga, is that moves that deal poison, or that poison Pokemon, aren't effective against the poison types, right? They're never going to be susceptible to poison. Now, the good news is, once I'm transformed into one, neither can I. So I cannot be affected by Poison Powder, but that's 5 moves that I have to waste. Right? I have to get them out as quickly as possible so that I can get to struggle. Because even with these type changes, I'm not getting through a gym where they're all one type and I'm also now magically that type. Right? The move pool is just not varied enough for the gym leaders. And I do think that, obviously, that's the design, right? The gyms are type-themed. But that is something that I do find interesting, is going through and seeing what moves they actually have and seeing just how little variety there truly is amongst the types. However, because Ditto only has 5 PP of each move, I can get through them pretty quickly. And that's going to be the benefit here, is, right, I'm going to be able to do more damage to them than they're going to be able to do to me. So while my attacks aren't super effective, well, neither are theirs. So I'm going to be able to ignore Vileplume completely, who's trying to use Poison Powder for some reason over and over and over again, because I'm immune to it. And then I also have Struggle, which is always going to do at least, regular damage to the majority of the gym leaders, the exceptions being Brock and Giovanni. Speaking of the devil, we need to defeat him before we can move on. And while the earlier encounters with him, I think, are fairly simple, especially this one, because getting Onyx is really cool, because Rage is effectively infinite. So what you want to do here is you want to burn through the other PP, and then you can use Rage. Now, Rage, the attack's going to build. You could also make the argument that the right thing to do is use Rage right off the bat and just press A, just mash A for the entire encounter. But with Rage, it's going to continue to attack unless something interrupts me, which he doesn't have any ability to interrupt me. Now, using all the Screeches first does make a lot of sense, right? I want to make sure that I can lower his defenses, and then my attack is going to raise each turn. So his is going to raise with Onyx each turn. Mine is going to raise with Onyx each turn. But because my health pool is so much larger than his, doesn't matter, right? We're both doing not very effective damage to each other, but the difference being my attacks go up 6 stages. So I'm able to do technically a little bit more damage with Rage than I would be able to do with Struggle. So this ends up being a net positive for me. The one problem is the crit rate stays pretty low. Even though Onyx has good speed, the crit rate wasn't as good as I was expecting. Because the crit would use my own base attack, I thought I'd be able to get through this a lot easier, but shockingly, no such luck. I'm able to defeat Giovanni anyway, but this is one of the easier encounters. When I see him as a gym leader, it's going to be a completely different story. Now it's time for rival battle number 5, which means that it's time to play Pidgeotto again. And what's tricky here is what I wish would work was that Whirlwind pushes him out. Luckily, he only gets the 1 sand attack off, so I shouldn't have to worry too much about my accuracy. I should be able to land effectively, and that critical hit there shows exactly what I'm talking about. That critical hit dealt way more damage than you would expect. That's because it's using my base stat. Now, execute here is going to be a little bit annoying, but it's fine. I don't have flying type moves, which is really weird. Like, I guess technically Whirlwind is a flying type move, but it doesn't work the same in Generation 1 as it does in future generations, where it pushes them out of the battle and swaps Pokemon. Same thing with Roar. It's great for dodging wild encounters, but it's entirely useless at this point. So I'm able to get through the execute, and now I'm on to Kadabra. By disabling my sand attack, that is unfortunate, but it can work out for me because if it stays disabled, I then go to struggle, which allows me to one-shot his Kadabra, who's pretty weak in terms of defense. So I'm going to use my Lemonade here to heal. I'm disabled no more. So now I have to use my sand attacks. This is fine because Wartortle's not going to be able to land any attacks on me as a result. I'm going to full heal just in case. And weirdly enough, that 1 sand attack that I got hit with earlier came back to bite me, but it didn't really matter. I had enough health that it was no problem. Once I get to struggle, this game's easy. When I jumped into this battle and realized that Koga's first Pokemon is a Coughing, I honestly thought my run was over. When I pulled up the stats, the move pool, I was expecting to see Self-Destruct, and if there had been Self-Destruct, I would have to use it. Luckily, the first Coughing isn't the one with Self-Destruct. I think it's either the second Coughing or the Wheezing. I believe it's the Wheezing, but either way, because there is no Self-Destruct here, I am able to fight Koga. Now, it's really tough, though, because as soon as all these stat changes take place, and as soon as he's effectively able to land all these smoke screens, I can't land anything. And because Struggle can miss, this just becomes a game of, can I defeat the Coughing before I run out of effective accuracy, right? On top of that, if Muck uses Minimize, I'm completely screwed. Not only is... oh, there it is. Somehow that manages to land, which is really impressive. In Gen 1, unlike future generations, Minimize is only a 1-stage move, so evasion only goes up by 1 stage. But remember, my accuracy is, at this point, I think down either 4 or 5 stages. And then his evasion's up too. So at this point, I have, what, maybe 20% chance of landing? Either way, it's ridiculous. And I'm hoping, beyond hope, that eventually I'll land. The poison gas isn't going to be able to do anything to me, but I'm also running low on potions. So if I'm not able to finish Muck quickly, I'm in trouble here. I may not have to deal with the poison itself, but I do have to deal with the fact that if I land a struggle, I'm going to be damaged. And Sludge is actually a pretty good move, even though it's not very effective. It's still pretty effective. Now, I am able to defeat him. It only took, 5,000 struggles and 10 minutes of my life. If I didn't play these games sped up, I think I would actually lose it. But the struggle is able to land, but unfortunately my accuracy problems aren't over with, because now this Coughing can also use Smokescreen. My accuracy can't go any lower, though, but I'm on my last potion here, and I still have 2 Pokemon left. This is going to be difficult. With Wheezing out, it uses Self-Destruct and KOs me. So the first Koga challenge is a loss. I wish I could tell you that I did this in 2 attempts, but I didn't. basically what I did here was I managed to get lucky. I didn't have as many smoke screens land on me from either of the coughings, and so I was able to deal with them fast enough that my accuracy wasn't lowered. So I was able to have enough health going into the battle with wheezing that I was able to heal up, and that self-destruct wouldn't KO me. So this starts kind of the run, and the real problem with Ditto runs is that they come down entirely to luck. You have to make sure that your stats aren't lowered because you can't swap your Pokemon out. So right now, I'm only on Gym 5, but I'm already dependent completely on what moves the other trainer uses. Another rival battle means, yes, another battle as Pidgeot, but luckily, Pidgeot has not yet learned Mirror Move. So again, the overall struggle technique that I am using when I burn all the PP for Transform, I use this mostly outside of battle. It allows me to beat trainers. That's still in play, right? Because Mirror Move is not available yet. I'm not actually positive that it's my rival that ruins it for me. I can't remember if it was a Mirror Move from my rival or from one of the trainers outside of Fuchsia, because there are a couple of bird keepers. But either way, if you're going to try and do this run, avoid the bird keepers outside of Fuchsia and save before rival battles. Because they're staged events, you know when they're going to happen. And as a result, what you need to do is make sure that you can save and then get out of the soft lock if that's the case. If he uses Mirror Move, I don't care if the Mirror Move's not on your Transform. I think it's any time that they use Mirror Move. Just reset. It's not worth losing that ability to use Struggle in your regular Ditto form because that's so much more powerful. This is a great situation where I could have just dealt with Alakazam with a one-shot if I had Struggle land. But on top of the stupid Leech Seed, and the confusion, and just the overall bullcrap of Alakazam, I have to burn through this Whirlwind, but I can't even get a single attack off. Now Whirlwind is disabled. Fantastic. I have no moves left. Struggle. Now, I don't quite one-shot, but I think if I had used Ditto instead of Pidgeot, that would have one-shot him without issue. Because my attack, as you can see there very briefly, was 97. So 97 at base attack with a Struggle is going to absolutely drop that Alakazam. Now I'm still running into a problem here where Blastoise is a beefy boy. And on top of that is getting healed. And he does enough damage that he's going to outdamage my Struggle. I can't do anything here. I'm going to run into a loss just because of one stupid Leech Seed. I can't change Pokemon. Now, I know that was a self-imposed rule, but it is what it is. That crit, see? Again, that crit is huge. The crit ended up being a massive amount of damage onto Blastoise because it uses Ditto's attack stat and not Pidgeot's. Even with that, though, look at how long this fight goes just because of that stupid Leech Seed. Just absolutely ridiculous. And every time it looks like I'm about to win, my attack misses. Those sand attacks are doing a ridiculous amount of work. And there it is, the loss. Rather than dealing with my rival again and then trying to fight Giovanni in the Silph base, I decided to skip all that jazz, go out of order, and go and fight Blaine. The reason that I decided to go and fight Blaine is, well, honestly, you're stuck here. You need to level up quite a bit in order to defeat them. Having more HP is going to help me outlast the Blastoise. I think I probably win that fight if the Leech Seed, or if Execute doesn't use Leech Seed, because then you're not going to run into as many issues, or if fewer sand attacks hit, to be honest. But again, we're entirely down to luck, and it's based off what the opponent does. I'm still trying to win this based on my own skill, and at this point, that doesn't really seem all too likely. Now, I'm able to get through his first two Pokemon very easily, but those are the weaker. Now, Arcanine and Rapidash, their stats are so much better that I have to rely here on Badge Glitch. because Growlithe has so many moves that allow me to manipulate, and Rapidash is doing so many tail whips, growls, and so does Ponyta, my stats are being recalculated so frequently, I don't even really know what's going to happen. Well, I guess I'll get stomped out. That's what happens. Now, if you've watched any of my other videos, you know at this point that I'm a huge fan of the Salty Runback. At this point, I feel like the only reason that he won was because of that lucky crit, but looking back, I guess that wasn't a crit. It was just that my defense had been lowered by so much at that point. But it's fine. We're going to burn through Ember. We're going to get to struggle faster, because there's not a ton that this Growlithe can do to me in terms of potentially knocking me out. He might be able to do oh, wow. Okay, I lied. He might be able to knock me out, but that's what we have the Hyper Potions for. Now, I do take these Leers, which is unfortunate because my defense is going to get lowered. But if I get to struggle, I should be able to do more damage. Even still, that takedown did over 100 damage. 109 damage from just a Growlithe. And if that's Growlithe's takedown, what's going to happen to me with Arcanine's takedown? It's not going to go well. Takedown, honestly, it's nice to have because this is better than struggle. So I left those. Because of the badge boost glitch, my attack's huge. So my takedowns are able to... Oh my god. Come on, man. I brought him down to 1 HP and then lost again. So again, it does come down to luck. If he had just done one thing differently, we would win. I don't think there's anything wrong with the strategy I use, so again, Salty Runback time. But this time I just decide, hey, I'm going to run and take out this Growlithe before the Leers, but I do get hit with 2 of them. So my defense is 2 stages lower. Now, if I get really unlucky, Ponyta uses Tail Whip. So now I'm 3 stages lower without an effective way to really deal with it. Agility's going to go and bring my speed up. But even with this, my attack's going to go down. I have no way to manipulate my own stats right now. I'm relying entirely on luck. There are too many stat-changing moves in this gym battle for me to do this effectively. And I'm left with nothing but Ember. 1 stomp from Ponyta brings me down to almost dead. I'm not going to survive a single attack from Rapidash or from Arcanine. So I have to get lucky now and hope that they go with stat change moves. Now that was really weird. So that was Stomp that crit, but the crit did next to nothing. And I'm not sure why that's the case. I would imagine it has to do with a glitch, but I don't know what that glitch would even be. Maybe when they crit, it goes based off of my defenses. But by that point, I just reset the run because there was no way I was winning. 1 stomp was going to knock me out. It would just become a matter of I use a potion, he stomps, I use a potion, I run out of potions eventually. That cycle can't continue, and then I die. The hope is to clear through the first 2 Pokemon before I get hit, and that's 2 stages. Okay, so I only have 2 stages of my defense being lowered. So maybe now, with only 2 stages of it being lowered, I'll be able to deal some decent damage. And he gets the flinch, because of course he does. Now, I think I should be able to survive 2 of those. So I should be okay. Growl is fine. We don't care about Growl. Yes, I can survive 2 stomps, so it's okay. Apparently not. So it looks like the run is stalled. So I'm going to go try and fight whatever trainers are left and see if I can't fix this problem. Since the rival battle was so close, I've decided to go back and do that because I do think that without that Leech Seed, I can probably win. Now I want to land these sand attacks and burn them, and also prevent this Pidgeot from landing their sand attack. So I did use 5, but I think only 3 hit, and already my accuracy is kind of bad. But 2 quick attacks deal with the Pidgeot, and I'm onto the Growlithe. Still, I'm having trouble landing attacks. I'm through my quick attacks. Now I can burn through my whirlwinds because they're not going to do anything. I'm through all 5. And we're down to wing attack. Now, I'm hoping to save that wing attack so that I can one-shot that stupid Executor. Or I think it might still be an execute at this point. But either way, I can avoid that leech seed if I save wing attack. So I tried to use my other attacks first. It didn't work, but I do still have this. Alright, he put armor up, but I'm able to two-shot the execute. Who cares about the armor, to be honest, because I'm still going to do enough damage with my struggle against Alakazam that it's fine. The leech seed not being down means that this battle should theoretically be won. Now, of course, something unlucky could happen. I could get horrible RNG and just completely miss all my attacks because those sand attacks did hit, and they seem to do a lot more earlier than they're doing now, which is fine. With Blastoise still doing a ton of damage to me, I'm concerned, so I'm going to move to the heal. I'm going to go Hyper Potion here instead of Super because I want full health. I land that crit, which does a decent amount of damage back to me. So I'm going to heal one more time. And then hopefully land 1 HP. But it's fine. It's fine. We'll repeat that cycle. Now what's interesting is he only uses a potion, but that might have actually been enough to survive. And it is, to survive one more hit. 2 hits land. I survive the recoil. And I get through that. I think honestly Leech Seed was all the difference. I could have avoided the whole Blaine shenanigans and just did the salty run back there, but I got it in my head that that battle was going to be my toughest, and unfortunately, my toughest battle is yet to come. Remember how when I was talking about bugs, I talked about the focus energy bug? Well, here's a big problem. So Nidorino has focus energy, so what I really should do to beat this is use the just struggle in regular Ditto base form. But the problem is, and now I know for sure, it must have been that trainer on the way to Fuchsia who used Mirror Move, because that's no longer working. It's bugged out for me. I can't, I'll go into battle with 0 PP left, and I won't be able to use struggle. So because of this, I have to use the first Pokemon that they send out. This means that I'm not going to get critical strikes. Focus energy is going to lower my critical strike chance by 50%, which it's already pretty low, and Nidorino's speed is nothing to really write home about. Now I do get lucky here, and I get the poison. Now I'm going to try and survive here for as many turns as possible, and let poison do as much of the damage to avoid me having to use the focus energies. If I get lucky, yeah, still not very lucky. I'm going to heal up with a Hyper Potion now because I don't care about conserving turns. I'm going to use another one because we're just going to let that energy, or let that poison do its thing. Let Rhyhorn tire itself out, maybe, possibly. Hopefully, but I also can't take 2 attacks by this point. I mean, I'm just pretty weak, and that Rhyhorn does a ton of damage. The poison eventually gets things done, and I'm left with Nidoqueen. Now, this is going to be difficult because Nidoqueen's not susceptible to poison. So I have to get through focus energy. That was absolutely massive. That did almost all of my health and poisoned me. So Body Slam is going to basically one-hit KO me. To the point where if she uses it again, I'm done. I get lucky, she uses Scratch, I heal to full. If that ever crits, I'm done. Yeah. Okay. I'm done. So at this point, I realize, you know what? Forget it. I am going to fight Blaine. And this time, it's going to be different. I went and I trained in the Pokemon Mansion for hours. After losing to that Nidoqueen, I put my controller down. I seriously considered restarting the run. But I had already invested basically an entire day into it, and I said, you know what? I would rather spend a couple of hours training at 10x speed in order to get Ditto up to a high enough level that this won't be an issue, that I'll have so much health that it'll be fine. because I knew at that point I could probably beat it, right? It's just a matter of health. This is all it comes down to. It's an equation of if I have more health, then they can't knock me out. And oh my god, Arcanine almost knocked me out. This Arcanine is honestly the real reason that I love Arcanine. It looks super dumb. I also didn't realize like how goofy its little overbite fangs are. Didn't love the sprite for Arcanine, but my god, is this thing a powerhouse in Generation 1. But it's fine. You know, I have over 200 health. I'm going to do a ton of damage. I'm going to be able to take a ton of damage. And by the time I get to struggle, I should, if I crit, wow, if I crit, I do a ton of damage. And that really right there is the play. With agility, with Growlithe, that means that the speed boost is up, which means I'm more likely to crit. Again, that crit uses Ditto stats. So eventually, with sheer force of will and complete and total self-loathing and no desire to start this challenge all over again, I'm able to pull out the win. This sets the stage for the rematch with Giovanni and, of course, the absolutely disgusting Nidorino. Now, my hope is that I get lucky with the Fury attacks here and that I'm going to be able to get 5 2 times in a row. I don't, so I have to use 3 of those. I miss a Fury attack. And unfortunately, each one of these things raises the attack stage of Kangaskhan. That's really stupid that it's coded that way, but it is what it is. There were a lot of dumb things with those multi-stage moves in Generation 1. They were kind of powerful, but they also could backfire really easily. The crit mechanic on them was pretty cool. If you were able to crit with those moves, each and every single one after the first crit lands. So if you crit on one and you hit 5 times, you are landing 5 crits. So I'm still able to use that crit there, which is awesome, because I haven't had to use Focus Energy yet, but I'm probably going to run out of moves here. I just have 2 Horn attacks left, now down to 1. So eventually, okay, I didn't get lucky, but I came pretty close to being able to defeat this. You can see the huge difference now with the Body Slam. It's going to take 2 of them to even get me close, and I think technically it'll take more than 3 in order to take me out. I am able to just brute force my way through with struggle after I get through all the other moves and, you know, grind my way to level 75. Fun. Now that I've defeated Giovanni at Sylph, I can go and fight Sabrina. Now, again, this battle would be the easiest thing in the world if I had, or I didn't have the glitch, right? If I had just struggle. This would be super simple for me. Although I do think it's pretty cool because I think Kadabra's moveset, or Sabrina's Kadabra's moveset, is pretty cool. Psychic does a ton of damage, even though I don't need it. But it doesn't do super effective damage, but it can cause the special to drop. But also having the built-in recover is cool too, because then I don't need to use potions as often. So this kind of works out okay. Mr. Mime's going to be annoying because it has the ability to just become an absolute wall. But Psychic does a ton of damage. Now the double slap, I expected to do more, but I guess Mr. Mime's attack must be low. I know my defense is low, so I really expected that physical attack to do more. Venomoth is weak because it's bug type to Psychic, so that ended up working out. It's super effective against Psychic, but it's also weak to Psychic, which was kind of weird. Or no, is it because it's poison? That doesn't make sense, because I don't think bug wasn't a thing. It must be poison when it evolves. Because when it's Tangela, it's just grass. But no, sorry, it comes from Venonat, so of course it's poison. Duh, dummy. Alright, so the poison makes it weak. I do land a crit with struggle, which means that I one-shot the Alakazam. And I'm through Sabrina with just 1 attempt. Again, with struggle this would have been easy, but what are you going to do? There comes a point in all of these challenge runs where the game starts to feel like it's, or the challenge starts to feel like it's going to end inevitably. This run didn't have that. I usually feel pretty confident, but one of the things that I was worried about here, and as I should be, is in Generation 1, Giovanni's Rhydon has 2 different one-hit KO moves available to it. Now, the one-hit KO moves works a little bit differently in Generation 1. If your Pokemon was faster than the other Pokemon, you didn't have to worry about getting one-hit KO'd, right? But in this instance, I have to copy his Rhyhorn, which is level 45. His Rhydon at level 51 is going to be faster. So I'm going to get stuck in a loop here of I may be able to get to the final Pokemon, but I'm not going to be able to knock him out before I get knocked out. And with Dugtrio here, this is also not an inevitability that I get through Dugtrio, because I have to deal with the fact that it can use Dig. Now, I kind of forget that I end up using a move, or that when I use the potion that burns one of the turns of Dig and that he's going to use it right away. So realistically, I should have tried to save Stomp. I was hoping one Stomp would do it, but now I'm hoping that my Horn Drill is going to work, which is really stupid. I should be trying to use Fury Attack here. But I'm dealing with this Dugtrio. It's an absolute menace. I should have launched an attack there, but I get out of sync with how many turns. I lose count because I'm playing on a much faster speed. Oh, and it looks like I'm even out of Fury Attack there. So at this point, I should have just reset, right? Because I'm trying to land the one-hit KO move when it literally needs one single attack. But this is where I get stuck, right? The one-hit KO move can't possibly land because it's faster than me, right? And so I'm sitting here trying to burn through PP, get to struggle. And there's nothing that I can do here. I keep doing that instead of healing before he digs, and it just becomes a huge mess, right? And even if I get through this Dugtrio, which is not guaranteed, I still have 3 more Pokemon to deal with, including one that's faster than me. Now, the real answer to this would be to use an X speed at the beginning of the battle, and then I don't actually have much to worry about. But even still, I'm not really thinking. I got so infuriated with this run that I just kind of gave up. I figured it's going to be impossible, so I might as well just accept the defeats. I'm going to defeat as many of his Pokemon as possible so that I can get to get as much experience as possible, because at this point I've defeated the trainers and I'm level 77 and I really don't feel like grinding anymore. So if I get lucky, all of his one-hit KO moves miss, but they don't, right? And this is going to be multiple times that I do this over and over and over again. And thanks to our good friend, the Badge Boost glitch, I think I came close to saying it right that time, I'm able to outspeed. In some of the weird calculations that went on, eventually my speed as a Rhyhorn is faster than that of a Rhydon, because remember, it doesn't take my Ditto speed. I didn't use an X speed, even though that's the correct answer. And as a result, Fissure and Horn Drill can't hit me. And so I'm able to just struggle my way through because of some random glitch. Now, to be fair, another random glitch is what made this difficult in the first place, so I feel like it's only fair that I get some payback. But this whole scenario is just wild. I don't understand why I was able to win that fight, and that doesn't really leave me satisfied with the outcome. But either way, I'm on to almost the Elite Four. I have one more battle with my rival, and as soon as I can defeat him using his own Pidgeot, which is just a giant slap in the face, then I should be just fine. The quick attack landing there on my Ditto actually kind of works out in my favor because my Ditto's defense is significantly higher. So Sand Attack is gone, so I don't have to worry about my accuracy going away. That's the good news. The bad news is I have to deal with this Rhyhorn. I don't have any effective moves against this Rhyhorn, but I know it can't one-hit KO me, so I'm going to try and burn as much of my PP as possible, so then that way I can get down to struggle. So I dump all of my whirlwinds. I hit it with the wing attacks. Now, I would love to keep wing attack for Executor, but at this point, I'm not going to be able to do enough damage to the Rhyhorn anyway. I might as well just get to struggle. I burn through all my agilities in the hope that if I land a crazy crit, it would do some damage. I have one left for the Growlithe, and wow, that wasn't even a crit, it just did that much damage. There's the crit. Okay, so the Executor is only when you fight him for the last time. For some reason I thought he got him earlier, but I guess not. I'm able to one-shot the Alakazam with a struggle. And because I'm level 77, I've got so much HP, I don't really need to worry about it. I do more damage to myself than they can do to me at this point. And with 3 total struggles, even through the withdrawal, that Blastoise is now a joke. The battle with Lorelei ends up being what is probably best described as a wet noodle fight. Now, because Dugong has access to rest, by the time I can deal damage, or enough damage, it's going to heal it back up. And I run out of takedowns, so I can use Aurora Beam. That's not going to do anything. So I'm stuck with moves that can't do any damage, or any significant damage, and anytime I do damage, the Dugong heals it back up. So what's going to happen is I'm going to get down to struggle, and I'm going to struggle through each and every single one of her Pokemon. And rather than show the 5 minutes of sped up time, meaning that this would have taken 15 minutes of my real life to actually get through this, because I have to deal with all the stupid rests putting me to sleep. Rather than showing you all of that, I'm going to go ahead and jump to where this run got interesting, which was with the fight with Bruno. So because of the struggle glitch, I honestly thought the Elite Four was going to be super simple, but because of the struggle glitch, I have to turn into the first Pokemon. I don't have a choice. And this is why I thought the run would be over. Bruno's first Pokemon is Onix. Now, Onix isn't a bad Pokemon. Like I've said, having access to Rage is super helpful. Having access to Harden helps too, because my defense boosts super high. I can activate that badge boost glitch, and since I am level 100, because I hate myself and I knew that this was going to be a problem, I realized that it doesn't really matter. Even if I get through his Onix, I still have the Hitmonchan, the Hitmonlee, and the Machoke to get through. So the only way that I can get through this, and it's because I did try this at that lower level 70 run, and I could never get past it. This is why I ended up grinding to level 100. Once I get to Hitmonchan, even if I get through Hitmonchan at level 100, all it's going to really take is one high jump kick after a focus energy to crit and completely knock me out with Hitmonlee. And because I'm trapped into Rage, I can't heal. And there it is, right? Now, that wasn't from full health, but I'm pretty sure that would have killed me anyway. Even if I had the ability to heal up, I don't think it really makes a difference. Eventually, what I decided as a tactic was that I was going to use Rage right off the bat, in the hopes that I would be able to raise my attack 6 stages fast enough that I would be able to get through both Hitmonchan and Hitmonlee before they could really do any significant damage. I get through Hitmonchan in 3 hits, Hitmonlee in 2 before it even gets to attack, and now it's pretty much smooth sailing. The only thing I have to worry about still is that Machamp using Submission. So it is still a tiny bit luck-based, but Onix can't do enough damage to me. I have so much health that I'll be fine, even though I'm locked in and can't heal. It just becomes a matter of, can I finish Onix before he can finish me? Now, he's doing 1 health. I don't think he's going to get 183 of those off before I beat him. Machamp is the only Pokemon that I really have to worry about here, because with Submission, he could do some pretty significant damage, but he only gets 1 off before I end up defeating him. And Bruno, after probably 6 or 7 attempts, is finally defeated. Now, the funny part about Agatha is that she's actually strong against herself. So me taking Gengar is pretty solid here. The problem is, I have to try and use Dream Eater as my only psychic attack. Right? So I finally get it to sleep, but the confusion messes me up. By the time confusion wears off, Gengar wakes up and, of course, hits me with yet another Confuse Ray. And I have gotten absolutely no luck with these stupid Confuse Rays. Every single time I'm hurting myself. Alright, Dream Eater goes off, I defeat her Gengar, I'm back to full health. Alright, one thing went right. Now I'm going to use Confuse Ray before they can confuse me, because clearly that's not working. Now Nightshade is going to do big damage because I'm level 100, and it does damage based on what level you are. So given that I'm level 100, it's going to pretty much two-shot any of her Pokemon. Now, I am going to keep Hypnosis, and I'm going to keep Dream Eater for the last Gengar. Nah, never mind, I'll take out the Arbok. Because it is the Poison type, I will end up using that, but I still have... If this Hypnosis doesn't land, I'm in trouble. Alright, Hypnosis lands, Dream Eater lands. Ooh, almost. I still have a Nightshade left, so it doesn't matter what happens. Even if she used full restore, I had 2 left, so I still would have won. Either way, we're able to get the easy victory over Agatha, and we're on to our champion. So interestingly enough, I did play Generation 1 when I was a kid, but I really came into my own in Generation 2, and I had no clue who Lance was when he showed up in Mahogany Town. I was like, oh, okay, there's this cool trainer with like dragon types. I don't know who that is, because I'd never gotten to the Elite Four in Gen 1. I don't think I actually really beat Generation 1, the original ones, not the Gen 3 remakes, not Let's Go Pikachu. I don't think I legitimately beat Generation 1 until I started doing these challenges. I don't know if that ruins my credentials for you, and if it does, I'm sorry. My bad. But one thing I totally spaced on is that in Gen 1, if you one-hit KO Pokemon with Hyper Beam, then it doesn't reset. You don't take that turn to recharge, which is huge. So I'm able to just sweep 2 or 3 of his Pokemon completely out of the way with no issue. I use Hydro Pump to one-shot the Aerodactyl, and now we use 2 Hyper Beams on his Dragonite, and that was honestly the easiest battle. I'm still convinced the hardest battle was Giovanni, because it came down to sheer luck. Now, again, I probably made that harder on myself by not using an X speed. But at this point, I felt that the run was inevitable. It finally happened where I felt, you know what? This is the point. I've beaten this guy so many times. It was really easy last time. It'll be fine. That mirror move right there, that's what I think broke my game. So not this one that he uses on me, but the one that is used on me by... So that same thing, right? I transformed, and then one of the bird trainers had a Fearow that used mirror move on my transform. So that exact situation, so I have it on camera. That is what breaks your ability to use up all the PP on transform and then just struggle your way through the game. This becomes a very easy challenge if you just use struggle. You can just use struggle, just use potions, get through the game very easily. And because transform only has 10 PP, it's really not even that hard to build up. So if you go to a Pokemon Center to heal, it's not the end of the world, right? And even now, this is pretty simple. Oh, I got lucky there. If that had been a 4 or 5, like that one was a 4, if the one before had been a 4, I was done. It was over. And here I felt like the run was inevitable, but I got caught being cocky, and those stupid Fury attacks, man. It's not that good of a move, but I just feel like it's randomly in Gen 1 was so overpowered. I'm able to two-shot the Arcanine. I'm left with Executor and, of course, the Blastoise. That Stomp does a lot of damage. The Hypnosis sucks, but I still have full heal. Barrage does nothing. That's a great thing. Now Executor is knocked out. Left with Blastoise. And here, it's time to pop the champagne because I'm finally done with this run. This was one of the first runs, I'm going to be honest, that I actually felt a sense of accomplishment because I was miserable the entire time doing it. I'm not sure if it was just happiness that I never have to do this crap again, or if it was the fact that I beat something that is completely difficult. But either way, I felt great after this one. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Remember to comment below, like, comment, subscribe, help me grow this channel so I can do more fun Pokemon Challenge content. My next challenge is going to be that Pacifist Challenge. This one's a little bit longer, so it might take me a couple weeks to make the video because it's going to be painful. So I may not post this week, but I'll definitely have one for you in 2 weeks' time. Alright, thanks so much for watching, and I will see you next time.